following is a paid program and does not necessarily express the views or opinions of Equity Media, its management, staff, or affiliates of WBOK.
How you doing?
Greetings.
Yes,
doing
indeed.
okay.
Yes. Boy, 30 days come
and go,
fast,
man.
So quick and scary.
Yeah. Well, at this age, it's almost every day someone close to you is passing. I just want to put a shout out to the Cyrus family and the passing of my good colleague with you, Mosier, Tyrone Cyrus.
Absolutely. Here in the city?
In the city.
Yes. And again, our condolences as well. I share that with you as well.
Thank you.
Yes, and here in New Orleans, what we have right now is that there's so much which is taking place since we've talked last. The Iranian war, national election results, congressional maps, local and judicial concerns, Orleans Parish Jail. So much is happening, and so many other things as well that you're going to mention as well. From the anti-weaponization fund to Richards Estate versus Duncan and John Carroll IRS. Oh, it's just so much.
So much.
But let's start right now with the national news and global concerns, and let's talk about this Iranian war, and because we can't walk around as if it doesn't affect all of us here in New Orleans,
Absolutely.
and here in the States. And at this point, last I heard that the Secretary of State Rubio said the war has ended. There is no war, and then they said the war has ended. There is no war. And at one point, they said that we were not even engaging in a war.
Right.
So there was no war. Now the war is ended. And this is from the National Administration. Yes, sir. Talk to us.
To say there's no war, let's just say there's war. Anytime you have two sides that is exchanging strikes, then you're in a war. And you have and this is a war of choice. Theoretically, the rationale is to prevent Iran from having a nuclear weapon. Well, it doesn't. Do they have a nuclear weapon? Do we know where it's at? Is it it seems as though the war is predicated on our wanting to have Iran to say they don't want to get a nuclear weapon. And that continues to justify going to war, which feeds into what we used to call the military-industrial complex, the constituents of Trump and the Republican Party making money on war, making money in that area. With oil. I mean, the public is suffering, but the people in the oil business are not necessarily suffering.
And what about the fact that they're saying that, hey, wait a minute, the president said that he is not concerned. There are reports that he's getting bored with what's taking place, and he's not concerned about the effects that it has on the people of the country.
Absolutely.
And that he's not concerned about trying to work toward ending a quick peace.
And, I mean, once again, it's back to the old military-industrial complex. Here's the people who are the constituents.
Yes, sir.
The oil brokers, the weapons builders, friends. They're getting rich off this war. Once again, it's not whether they have, it seems as though it's not that they have a nuclear weapon,
yeah,
but we're fighting on the assumption that they don't want to say they're not going to get a nuclear weapon.
Now, what about geopolitical concerns? When I say the geopolitical concerns, the United States vested in the Middle East and also vested with Israel and this particular leader of Israel, and the president blowing up with the leader of Israel, saying that he's saving his butt and all these other et ceteras, and that Israel, an ally that has brought us into this war, and here we are allied with an ally engaging in a conflict that America, actually the American citizens, uh, don't have the interest of participating in. Yes, sir.
Yeah, well, at the end of the day, I believe all of that is a smokescreen
Okay.
between Israel and the United States. Both men are pro-war. Both men are benefiting from war. And of course, with Israel, it's a matter sometimes their priorities are not together. But at the end of the day, they're going to work it out because both of them want to be at war. And they don't care who's suffering, or they don't care about their people.
And their personal survival is that, by all accounts, is that when both are out of office, they're going to be hit with a lot of lawsuits, domestic lawsuits at home.
Absolutely, if they leave office.
Okay.
War, emergencies justify continuation of people in office.
You would think so?
I think so.
Okay, all right.
Especially
Okay.
with our president, we've seen that before.
Okay, well, I would say this, and you may be, I will say this, and one thing that I will say is that what was given to me by a layperson years ago, no one is bigger than America.
I understand.
There are a lot of folks that they've come in thinking they're larger than America, but there is right or left.
Oh.
America has its organic ceilings that stop you.
And then there's the possibility of leaving office but still controlling the political party and controlling those who are in control. And
Okay.
they're making sure they're doing that. They're gathering the list of the names of everyone who votes in the United States. What you think that's about? That's about intimidation. That's about stealing votes. That's about maintaining power.
And speaking of that, in the national election cycle, we see now that there are certain elections which are taking place. We find that there are certain states which are battleground states. We expect to be battleground states in the next election cycle. We find that in Iowa that there's a contest between a strong Republican and strong Democrat which may take place. The results of California we're waiting for. But any highlights that jump at you that our listeners should know about?
Well, in certain areas of the United States, certain regions, particularly the South, we see that the mega wing
Okay.
of the Republican Party is beating what we would call the traditional wing of the Republican Party. But in terms of who will actually win, in certain states they are predictable. There are some states that are up for competition, but we will not know that until the runoffs or the primaries are completed, and in some cases all of them are completed, and the general election takes place. But the more interesting factor is the rulings of the Supreme Court. Even when we've had lower courts to say there's race, there's unfairness in the redistricting, like in Alabama, we've seen either the state courts or the U.S. Supreme Court has come in and weighed in politically on the side of Trump and the Republican Party. So but who will finally get those seats and how many will be advantageous to Republicans because of the Supreme Court and the Congress weighing in on that side, it remains to be seen.
And I'm glad that you brought that in, talking about the congressional maps and in particular those maps which takes place here at home. Over the past few weeks during this legislative session, we've seen that the maps have been drawn and rewritten, and we find that Louisiana has been reduced from 2 black congressmen working to only 1. So the difference. So now we have 5-1 as opposed to 4-2. And I'd like to get your feel about this 5-1, and with the majority African American district being rooted in Orleans Parish and beyond, whereas the courts have ruled in the past that this was a map that existed to a large extent in the past. And I'd like to get your political science analysis and view from this. Yes, sir.
Well, once again, from that standpoint, it really, as we've had in previous years, dilute the strength of the black population in the state of Louisiana, based on what the legislature passed, and also, once again, I go back to the weighing in of the U.S. Supreme, not the U.S. Supreme Court on the side of the legislature. And the same thing happened in Alabama with the U.S. Supreme Court. Surprisingly, in South Carolina, James Clyburn had enough clout where the South Carolina state legislature said we didn't want to get into this contest of diluting.
Preserved his
seat. So, but once again, what I see is we see the end result of controlling of the Congress, controlling of the judicial, and controlling the administration as a factor in determining. And it sort of reminds me of the end of Reconstruction and the idea of pre-Reconstruction and post-Reconstruction, where the aim was at African Americans. And so the aim is here on African Americans. In terms of strategy, of course, the court has clearly said that race cannot be a factor, but we need to elevate the game, in my opinion, where we are organizing statewide, but we have to take a playbook from Georgia and some of the other states where there has to be a coalition, a multi-race coalition, particularly the black and brown coalition that we see is very successful in Georgia and resulted in 2 Democratic senators, and Warnock and Ossoff. And so we still stuck on the black. I understand that. I am too. But it's time to change the strategy to organize statewide, put resources in developing the population of minorities that's almost half of the state, and also going around like Stacey Abrams and everybody else and developing coalitions of brown and black coalition.
Well, I'm thinking also that what happened in South Carolina is the fact that many of that the legislature Republicans, the MAGA people, discovered and recognized that when you that when you break up a majority black district and you crack it and it splits, is that all of those African Americans go somewhere, and where they go into districts that will, for all intents and purposes, dilute their power and influence.
Absolutely.
And many of them did not want to have those African Americans, those blacks in their districts. And I would see that here in the state of Louisiana, that they're going to soon discover, as you indicated as well, is that many of these African Americans, these black people, as they go into other parts of the state and other districts, they're going to moderate the MAGA wing of the party.
Absolutely.
And it's going to be a very natural, very, very natural, organic thing which is going to take place in terms of bringing those ultra right-wing Republicans, migrate them, and move them over toward the center.
I hope you're right. I hope you're right, Doc.
It's happening.
And I've seen that happen in the past, even when you had 25% or so black population in some of the studies that I've done.
That's what we had that is what we had this voting rights. Now, many of these politicians, the ones that won, were the ones who could go in there and get those black votes. And that's what angered many of the conservative Republicans. Like, wait a minute, these black voters are electing Democrats.
But with the closed primaries, it is set up to kill off the moderate.
But we're going to open primaries now. We have the closed. That was just for one election cycle. Now they're going back to the open primaries.
Oh, I thought. The open primary for the general election, but we still have closed primaries to determine who the
open for legislators and open for state legislative seats, and they're going back to open for the statewide seats.
Really?
Remember, the closed primaries were politically designed for one person. They may not say this, but to get Cassidy out of office.
Absolutely.
And now he's gone.
Well, I mean, it's been
Yes.
utilized in Texas and everywhere else.
Yeah.
So, but I think once again, Trump has been the beneficiary from those closed primaries because he's eliminated anybody in opposition to him.
Precisely. And now, and on a national level, those people who run for office, it becomes those folks who enter politics. It's almost as if what Ronald Reagan said: you campaign hard to the right, but when you get elected, you run to the center. And it seems as though, but this president, he's demonstrated that it does not matter if you are ultra right wing. You could be for
There you
him
go. All right.
99.999% of the time, but you just do one thing that he does not like.
Yeah, absolutely.
How do you see that? How do you value that as a professional watching that?
Well,
politician,
I
yes, sir.
mean, it's working for him in many places because of his support within the party, and where they're even voting against sometimes their own particular interests. But you have other things in the play like replacement theory and invoking fear with respect to both, foreigners and immigrants and other race, as well as invoking fear with respect to the LGBTQ community, and that's why it has been successful. So, at the end of the day, once again, the MAGA wing seems to have. That's what I'm seeing from the
So
congressional.
you see that dominance. How long do you see that dominance?
Well, I mean, it's we don't know how
You
it's
see
going
that
to play.
dominance after Trump leaves.
Not necessarily.
Okay.
Not necessarily, but up until the midterms, and maybe up until his
Do
term
the Democrats
ends.
smell blood? Do they have opportunity? Because the Democrats see ample opportunity over the course of the next 2 years, 3 years.
Well, I haven't seen the results. There's some, particularly in those areas in which there are blocks of where the mega is in control. We'll see. We'll see in Texas. We'll see in Georgia.
Yeah.
But those are key, and in Florida, we'll see. I don't see it right now. The Democrats, to me, are not sending the kind of message they need to offset that.
I would also think some things also rely on candidate quality.
Yes. Well, we see this the guy
Talk
in
to us. Yes, sir.
Maine or Rhode Island, whoever
Right.
was. They're finding out he was sexting. So when you have those kind of blunders with not putting a strong candidate, it does have that effect as well. Both in terms of, well, it didn't seem to affect Paxton at all in Texas, and he's controversial. But we haven't seen it yet because we haven't gotten to once
General,
again.
where everyone.
We haven't gotten to general election. We're just talking about how it has worked for the primaries and the primary runoffs within the particular party.
Okay, now let's talk about some things I know which are very, very important to you. Come closer to home and talk about the local fair and what's happening in terms of the merger of the judgeships.
Yeah,
and
we
the
see
yes, sir.
we see the court, the legislature passed it, the court supported it, and ruled the Louisiana Supreme Court ruled in the favor of the state legislature, and also ruled that the city kind of overstepped its boundaries by calling for the election. Legally, I think this court is ruling strictly like the Supreme Court based on politics. Legal precedent doesn't lend, from what I've seen, doesn't lend itself for the decision that was made by the Supreme Court. In this particular case, also, it put Chelsea Richardson Napoleon and Duncan at odds, which was unfortunate. I understand her wanting to keep her position, but the ruling was, and my opinion was, they were creating a new position,
All right.
and therefore they couldn't select who that person would be by eliminating one and not the other. But the court ruled that we just eliminated one, but she agreed to absolve. She could absolve the responsibilities of that position, and so they said that that was sound. I don't think it's sound. Of course, I do. Even though I criticize the federal courts with respect to this and the Supreme Court, I do think that it should have gone to a higher court, the appeal to U.S. Supreme Court. I still say that what was done to Calvin Duncan, to me, is a federal violation of ex post facto. It was a criminal thing he was convicted of. He received the penalty. The penalty was there, and then they're coming along and say, we're going to add something else. So they can say what they want. It was done because of Calvin Duncan. It wasn't done, and so to me, that is creating a decision, a law, after it's been settled, which is called ex post facto. Now, I'm not a lawyer, but I think pursuing a federal angle with a sound legal rationale might lend some different results.
Yeah, I see exactly what you're saying. And so, and also in the same manner, we look at New Orleans and the mayor, Mayor Moreno, and I know you have some.
Well, I mean,
Yes, sir.
give her credit. She was able to go to the legislature and get the reorganization, the change
through her experience by working there. Yes.
through her change, getting the Sewage and Water Board out of the hands of the Sewage and Water into the city. I get a little confused about it because the history of the Sewage and Water Board is that the mayor was the president and the people on the council were the ones who appointed the board. So is it different? Definitely there have been some problems. So the question is, what will this reorganization chart looks like, and why is it likely to lend success? Or is it something that will result in the efficient use of the funding within Sewage and Water Board, or is it just an excuse to raid the funding of Sewage and Water Board and put it into the city? It remains to be seen.
You said a money grab?
I don't know, but that's something that could happen. But I don't, is there such waste in Sewage and Water Board that the city can funnel a little money from that?
But would it make it more efficient? I think her goal is to make everything more efficient and have greater control and influence, correct?
Yes,
right.
But taking money from, if that's the plan.
Okay.
If the plan is to take money from Sewage and Water Board, it's not really clear that it's going to make it more efficient. Clearly, there's some management problems. But once again, the previous board, the mayor was the president, even though she came in after, Cantrell, and the council were the ones who appointed the people they had representation and appointed the people. So, unless they have a plan that works, and I'm hoping that's the case, but it remains to be seen. They're going to do this, they're going to do that. But we have to really look at what's going to happen once it's under the city. What's going to happen to the money that Sewage and Water Board
Okay.
has.
Now she's been doing, I think, a pretty effective job in helping and keeping the citizenry informed and fighting off these battles. It seems as though it's coming from Baton Rouge to attack the city of New Orleans.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, she's done didn't do anything in terms of didn't help with respect to the reorganization of the courts.
Okay.
But this was our priority with the Sewage and Water Board. The other thing in terms of getting the money to close the gap in the budget, successful with that, prioritizing lights in the east, this, that, and the other. So there's definitely been some successes, but remains to be seen. We got to give it time to evaluate how the administration will be.
I see. And so recognizing that and seeing where we are, uh, I'd like for you in the remaining 2 minutes or so that we have before we talk about what we expect to see over the course of the next 30 days. Um, how do you characterize the assault on New Orleans from the executive branch, the legislature? What's taking place here? Is it because it's an urban area? Is it because it's an urban area dominated by African Americans? Is it because it's an urban area which is largely Democrat? Uh, what do you see as the impetus for it, and what do you see are the barriers? What are the barriers which one can use to stop this from taking place?
Well,
The assault,
I don't think
the political
I
assault.
don't
Yes.
think what we're seeing is peculiar to New Orleans or peculiar to the state of Louisiana. We seem to have, and I've said this, a post Reconstruction mindset nationally, where we're back, someone's trying to push us back into Jim Crow. You know, the tone of what's going on in every state is to attack, dilute the power of African American vote.
You got to be. I don't mean to cut you off, but we got to be talk with some specificity so individuals understand. The executive branch, the national, the president is moving the states back. Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
and
Because that's at the top of the pyramid.
and
Yeah.
many have accepted
Okay.
what the president has put out there. But I'm looking at even in terms of the criminal justice system,
All
where
right.
you have now we see an uptick once again of innocent black folk getting killed in stores, and so there's just a general tone that I see going on nationally that's being matched by the redistricting and the other things, where we see the defense, the guy Headstead not rewarding women and African Americans for their position. So this the message is you can disrespect black folk. That's the message I see going on, and that's what we have to caution against, and because that seems to be happening all over the country, and that the tone is being set that we're back to where we were before. Forget about all of the progress that has been made, and you can handle black folks anywhere.
The response.
kind of way.
Now, understanding the analysis. What is the black response? The black political response as you see it.
Well, the black political response is what I said before.
Yes, sir.
Is there has to be an organization
All right.
across the state, organizing across the state and engaging and educating people.
Well, the Power Coalition does that, and also the Democratic Party does that.
Well, to some extent.
Okay, all right. Talk to us. Yes, sir.
Some of the issues with respect to voting and redistricting, the horse is out of the barn. These issues were taking place. We should have been addressing this long before the crisis, and don't seem as though we did. We should have had public hearings on redistricting way before that. In the census, we should have had that at that time. I think there was some money that was put out there for the state Democratic Party, but we didn't really have any. We didn't have any hearings going on across the state for constituents to understand what's going on. Most people don't understand open and closed primaries. Most people don't understand redistricting. Most people didn't understand their rights with respect to voting. Democratic Party's not doing that.
Well, I will say there were hearings across the country, the state, and but the only ones that came were black Democrats
In Louisiana?
Yes, in Louisiana.
I don't know.
I went in Shreveport and in Lafayette. I went to a number of them myself.
Okay.
And but you didn't find. I will say that.
Well, I know
they
that
were
Eric
doing
Holt
this.
and that crew had money for doing that.
Okay.
And it didn't happen. If it happened late.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. It did happen, but again, it was needed more, much more.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And again, thank you for joining me, boy. It was
Okay.
always great. It's always good. Our producer letting us know it's that time. and it's always fantastic. We'll be together again in 30 days.
Okay.
And again, this is Dr. Clark's one-on-one, the Living Classroom. You can follow me on all platforms of social media, and it's always been a pleasure.